Bible tells us that the first humans lived about 6,000 years ago, but we found human remains from far before then. So how do we reconcile the fact that science seems to disagree with the Bible? There's three theories that you can run with here. The first being that science is completely wrong and these people did not live that long ago. This is a theory that a lot of Christians hold, but I think it's a little bit of a cop-out because scientists are a lot smarter than me and I'm pretty sure they can tell how long ago people lived. The second theory being that some of the stories in the Bible are not to be taken literally, and that they're actually metaphors as to how we should have faith in God. I'm also not a fan of this theory because if we can pick and choose which stories are to be taken literally and metaphorically, how can we trust that Jesus truly died on the cross? The third theory is my personal favorite. Not one that I'm going to proclaim as the truth, but one that I think is the most valid amongst all the theories. The theory goes something like this. The scientific timeline is correct, and humans have been around for that long, and so has the Earth and the Sun and the entire universe. But humans weren't created in the image of God until Adam and Eve. So the human ability to understand ourselves and to understand God didn't come about until about 6,000 years ago when God breathed life into the human species. But creatures that resembled humans exist before that time. This is actually backed up by the fact that we don't have any human writing that predates Adam and Eve. This theory is the one that I hold to, but it's definitely not the complete truth. There's still a lot of holes and places that need to be filled in, but I think it's the best explanation for really old humans and the Bible stories.
Okay, so I can at least give this young man credit for trying to critically think through this situation. But in his critical thinking, I hope that he is able to see this video and come to a few realizations. The first one is the presuppositions that you have that are incorrect. Well, one, you have a presupposition that says that Adam, Eve, the Genesis story has to be true. Jesus has to be true. You don't leave room for those things to not be true. And so therefore, you're going to force information to fit into a narrative that makes the most sense for you. You have to have that in order to do it. Now, you also believe that the only form of man being able to recognize divinity or something greater than itself has to be done in writing, that civilization is only based on a more Western mindset of what civilization is, and that it has to be written. If man doesn't have a written language, then man cannot have contemplated the universe. Well, that is completely false. And you say 6,000 years. Well, we know that Turan Tepe, Göbekli Tepe, demonstrates man being able to build megalithic structures in and around 9,000 BCE. So that puts it more around 11,000 years ago, 12,000 BCE. So that puts it more around 14,000 years ago. So when you conceptualize the fact that man built megalithic structures and buried them, and on each of these structures, they drew out carvings that resembles the constellations. So there was man viewing the heavens prior to the time frame of the Bible. So the narrative that you want to fit there just doesn't fit because you want to force civilization to be at a time frame where there is writing. We also have caves in France where man drew animals and people on caves. So man had concepts of viewing his environment and thinking. So there is not this idea of a soulless man creature that just was walking around as an instinctive creature. So it doesn't fit because you're only trying to find writings. And here's the thing. The Bible was not written 6,000 years ago. Adam didn't write anything. Moses did not write anything. Pretty much the Hindu Vedics older than the Bible. The writings of the Canaanite people older than the Bible. The writings of the Kemetic people older than the Bible. And what you are confusing and melding together in order to make your narrative fit is the writings of the Sumerians that you are in some degree melding together. Just listen for a second. I want you to think about this. Tell me if it sounds similar. What he said was that 6,000 years ago, God breathed life into man. Man became in God's image. So coming into the image of God, man now understood divinity. The Anunnaki story is that man was on the planet. The hominid was on the planet. The Anunnaki added their DNA to the hominid, making Adapa. So then Adapa becomes more like the Anunnaki. So what you're suggesting is that in the same way the Sumerian story talks about how adding the Anunnaki DNA to the man creature, he became more like his master, his God, his creator, the Anunnaki, is the same way you're saying God breathed life into man. Do you not see the similarity in that? And I believe that you might be meshing those ideas together in order to formulate the answer that you have to yourself, when the simple answer is this: man existed long before, and man has had many gods. Many gods have come and died over centuries and centuries and eons and millennia. Men have created God in his own image, however fantastical God has been created. But now you are believing in a God now, and you want it to fit eternity, when eternity does not fit your God, because every God is eternal according to the believer of that religion. And you're trying to force yours to be right now, excluding the gods of man 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 years ago. So yours is no more special than theirs, except you just live right now and they're not. And that's the simple truth of it. So you're trying to make it fit when it simply just does not fit. It does not fit. It doesn't, the Bible doesn't fit natural history. It doesn't fit archaeological history. It doesn't fit any history whatsoever until after the Babylonian captivity. And that still doesn't account for any miracles ever being true. So I appreciate the young man for trying, but open your mind. Let the landing spot be wherever the landing spot is, not your predetermined landing spots. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.